Jeff Von Ward is the author of Mormonia Stories, managing editor of Samizdat Literary Journal, and co-creator of Writing Without Walls, a Bay Area reading series. He also edits the popular City Lights podcast, Live from City Lights. He is currently hard at work finishing his first novel. Please welcome Jeff Von Ward.
Welcome to Word World 2012. Thank you all for coming. It's just really nice to see all of you here, and it's just a real privilege and pleasure to be the first reader for the 2012 Word World. And I just wanted to say first that if there's anyone in the audience tonight who is here visiting, thinking about coming to CCA to get an MFA in writing, I was in the audience where you're sitting 2 years ago myself, and I was wondering whether it would be worth coming here, worth pursuing the time, the money, whether it would be worthwhile or not. And I have to say that absolutely it was worthwhile. And we've also positioned some admissions counselors at either exit. So I wanted to just do a few quick thank yous. So please forgive me if I go along and inform the Eastern affiliates. I don't know. So first and foremost, I need to thank my lovely partner Jessica Coleman. She's here. She has stood by me through thick and thin for 17 years. Isn't that amazing? So thank you so much, Jessica.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to quickly thank my thesis committee. John Lasky is my chair, and I just feel so fortunate to be working with John. He's been extraordinarily helpful with me in terms of working on the structure of my novel. And he's just such a close and careful reader. And it just has amazing instincts and just wonderful at helping you figure out what the subtext is and how to bring that out even more. And so if you get a chance to work with John, if you haven't already, everyone here sings his praises. Please do so. I'm also really privileged and fortunate to have Amy Fawn on my committee. And I'm currently reading her novel, and if you haven't picked it up yet, please do, The Re-Education of Cherry Truong. It's a wonderful book, beautifully written. She's definitely a role model for all of us in terms of what we would like to emulate. The third member of my committee is Eric Olson. And I think two of the most unusual workshops I've had at CCA are with Eric. It's been really fulfilling just to watch him get into the mechanics of character, plot structure, and he's always at the whiteboard, this guy. Dry erase marker in hand, drawing maps and showing us new ways of seeing our work. And thank you, Eric, for your time and your commitment. Next, I wanted to thank Anita Mirazvani. Anita, I just feel just so fortunate to have had her as a mentor. 2 semesters, I was really lucky, and I got to work with her my first semester at CCA. And I think any novelist at CCA should work with Anita. And I think one of the lasting memories I have is that I'd never heard of an outline before, and she said, maybe you ought to try outlining your novel. Well, we did this, and we rolled it out. We put it on butcher paper, and we rolled it out at the A2 Cafe at Oakland, and it actually took up an entire wall. And I think that was an aha moment. It was like, maybe this is more than one book. So, thank you. Next, I want to thank Al Young, the resident Buddha at CCA. It's been amazing to take 2 seminars from Al, and I just look forward to his writing advice, his warmth, his humanity, and just his intellectual curiosity. It's just incredible spirit, and I think we've all been really fortunate to have him in our program. Next, I wanted to thank Rebecca Bloyd. I TA'd with Rebecca last semester, and she's such a dedicated and impassioned teacher. And I think the surprising thing for me was getting a chance to interact with some of the undergrads at CCA. It's a truly global community with a lot of amazing artists from many disciplines. And it was just really exciting, very thrilling to get a chance to work with these people and to get to know them better. Next, I wanted to thank Cooley Windsor. I've had the opportunity to have three classes with Cooley, and each one was so different, and they were all just amazing. I just wanted to thank him for his unflagging enthusiasm, his wit, his humor. He's been just tremendously supportive of me during my time here at CCA, so thank you, Cooley. Next, I wanted to thank Kevin. I can almost see him. It's a little dark. I think one of my favorite workshops at CCA was with Kevin. And this class, let me tell you, it gelled almost immediately. And we had so many different voices, styles, and approaches to writing, but I feel like Kevin was the sort of workshop facilitator that I aspire to be if I've never handed the keys to the Ferrari. So thank you, Kevin. Next, I wanted to thank Tom Barbash. I had the distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure of having 2 workshops with Tom. I think he's just a tremendous talent and very generous with his praise when you've earned it, and exact with his criticisms when they're merited. I think he has a wealth of knowledge about craft and just a tremendous font of fun stories about fellow writers. So if you're at CCA, please make a chance to work with Tom. And I knew that one of the reasons I decided to come to CCA, I knew I had to come to CCA when I read The Last Good Chance. It's just such a beautiful novel. It's a big, uniquely American work that I also aspire to in my own writing. So thank you, Tom. Also, with Tom, he does the Friday seminar series, and I would challenge anyone in any MFA program in the world to try to top the amazing amount of writers that have graced our writing studio in the past 2 years. It's just incredible. The first Friday seminar I attended was with Mary Gateskill. It was just amazing, and it just went up from there. I mean, it was just an incredible amount of talent passed through our doors. Next, I wanted to thank Matt Iribarn. One of my regrets at CCA is I only had a chance to take 1 class with Matt, so I'm kind of hoping to maybe not pass one of my classes this semester so I can come back, take another one with him in the fall. But I've been really lucky to mentor with Matt informally by assisting him with the Brunel Yoga literary series, and he's just been a wonderful sounding board, very approachable, very generous with his time, and he's even read short stories of mine even when I didn't have a class with him, and provided me with great feedback, so thank you, Matt. Next, I wanted to thank Claire Chafee. I used to work in the writing office, and 2 of the most exciting and interesting, I think, classes that were happening in the writing studio during that time period were Claire's. And I'd never heard so much joy, so much laughter. Of course, unfortunately, I was not in either of those classes, but I was working. But it was enough to make me want to get Claire. And I finally was lucky to have her as my mentor this last semester, and she's lived up to the hype in every way. Been very wonderful. Next, I wanted to thank Shanti, and Shanti Sekaran. She couldn't be here tonight. She said she was stuck in Denver. It was amazing just to get an email from her saying that she wanted to be here and wished me well. I really enjoyed working with her. We had a workshop. It was a very small workshop, and it was a great mix of first and second year students, and I think we just bonded really intensely with one another and with each other's work, and I think it was one of the most productive times I've had here at CCA, and I think Shanti is the reason why, so thank you. Next, I wanted to thank Anne Marino. She's an amazing woman. Thanks for hosting the student readings. Thanks for being so accessible to your students. And thanks for taking me into San Quentin and then letting me leave. So I think I'm running long, so I'm just going to say a few more names, but not go into a lot of detail. Emily McVarish, Gloria Frim, Hugh Ben Steinberg. And if I had a 3rd year as an MFA student, I would definitely study with all you poets. I've enjoyed our sidebars, Donna, Denise, Matt, Carolyn, Teresa Walsh, our amazing program manager, Joseph Lees, our chair. You've all been really incredible, and thank you so much for everything you do for CCA. And last, but certainly not least, I just wanted to thank all my peers as well, my fellow travelers, my cohorts, whatever you want to call them. I just feel encouraged and inspired by your dedication, by the risks you take in your writing, and I've learned a great deal from you, many of you, more than you can imagine. And I've loved having the opportunity to share these 2 years with you, so thank you. So this is an excerpt from my novel, and I think there's only 2 things you need to know about it. One is that the main character, Richard, he's just won an athletic scholarship to go to BYU in Utah. And the other thing is that he just burned down his mother's kitchen. The honeymooners. The couple held hands, walked down the pristine streets. The place was empty. a ghost town in reverse, lined with freshly poured pavement, newly rolled sod where months before there'd been nothing but bogs, uninhabitable swamps. Probably for thousands of years, but everything smelled new now, full of promise. It was easy to get lost for a time, thinking they'd walked onto a movie set, a theme park, a possible future just a year or two away, one where they could finally decide as adults to be together, to live out some kind of bold suburban dream. They found the model home, a brightly lit hive at the center of the subdivision, except everything was dark. Even the pastels of the outer stucco walls felt muted in the moonlight. A string of primary colored plastic flags flapped noisily in the breeze, running from post of mailbox up toward pitch of roof, tied off at the base of a brick fireplace. There was a sign on the sod. "Welcome," it said. But the front door was locked. The back slider was unlatched. It screeched a little when they opened it, but they didn't let that deter them. They walked right inside. "Welcome home." It was like they lived there. Fragrance of carpet, glue, and paint freshly applied. It was dark, and they fumbled for the switch, flipped it on and off, but nothing, no electricity. They waited near the entry until their eyes adjusted. Out of the shadows came a new kitchenette, one whose sturdy construction implied it was impervious to destruction. A blank slate, no temples, no Kewpie dolls. It didn't even smell like food. Lacking these sort of embarrassing personal touches made Richard feel like he could cook again. Around the corner they saw furniture, a couch, a matching love seat. There was even a framed poster over the fireplace, a couple it looked like, though it was too dark to say. Fingers pressed firmly around the tops of impossibly broad shoulders, big smiles, wrinkled eyes, and shining perfect teeth. Inside the open living room, their hearts began to race. They could really feel the possibilities of this place. It was full of so much potential, so much promise, and somewhere this place or something like it could be theirs. Even though they felt like they had broken into someone's home, even though they suspected punishment was imminent, it was too easy to imagine it was all theirs, and not only that, but that they'd done something to deserve it. It was private and comfortable, larger than they'd even imagined, and so quiet they could hear each other's exhalations, could feel the flutter of their shared and seemingly synchronized pulses. Richard eyed Tina in the dark, what he could make of her features, face silhouetted by the dim light of the moon. Tina Carruthers from Boca Centura, native of the Sunshine State. Wow, what was she doing with him? She had this way of talking, this easy patois full of southern homilies that invited a reciprocity of warmth and tender feelings in his loins. She was a girl who wasn't especially bright, but this was only one fact of many and inconvenient and therefore generously overlooked most of the time. It must have dawned on them that each bedroom could ably serve as a laboratory for their ongoing experiments. Whatever it was they would do or show one another that night, expounding on all they'd already uncovered, always something novel and moving, wholly unexpected awaited. Tina smiled. She reached out and gripped Richard by the hand as they continued their tour, ascending the spiral staircase in order to get a better look at the bedrooms. "This is a boy's room," Tina announced. Richard assessed the quality of construction, knuckles knocking sheetrock. He nodded gravely. Down the hall they continued. "Oh, wow, look at this," she whispered. "This would make such an adorable nursery." Richard nodded. If he was nervous, he wasn't showing it, not exactly. She turned to face him and he pulled her close, could feel the warmth of her breath against his cheek. They embraced for a moment in what he decided would be their master bedroom. "How many kids should we have?" she asked as he tried to cop a thrill. "How many do you want?" Already his mind was elsewhere, hands fingering the first buttonhole of her shiny blouse. He struggled with it. Big, gray, stupid buttons. Obnoxious, really. He'd never cared for her in that shirt, and when they were through, he'd tell her straight, but not now. No, he didn't want to spoil the mood. Tina pushed him back, shot a dangerous smile. You could barely make it out from the traces of diffused moonlight, mullions from the large bay window casting shadows across the plane of her face. "Having trouble?" she asked, voice as warm and wholesome as a plateful of grits. She winked and began to unbutton her blouse, starting at the top, ferreting each button slowly from its hole. Richard felt his pulse rise. His crotch came to life, and he plunged his free hand into his pocket and awkwardly adjusted himself. Whenever he became nervous, he retreated to the safety of a joke, something he did even on his deathbed, a morbid joke, of course, one so appropriate it was inappropriate, but here, as she peeled her blouse from her shoulders, it was all he could do to contain himself, staring at the notch of her jugular, following the lines of the unexpected freckles of her cleavage, the twin orbiting moons of her breasts ensconced in a white wire maiden-form bra. He almost choked. And then he smiled. And then he blurted out, "Alice, what will the neighbors think?" Tina stared at him in dumb silence. And then, refastening the gray buttons of her blouse, sprinted out of the room. Richard caught up with her at the foot of the stairs, grasped her shoulder loosely, but she shook him free. What did I do?" He was genuinely remorseful. He'd come so close to seeing her naked. "It's not what you did, it's what you said." "What did I say?" She looked at him as if he was the idiot. "You called me Alice," she finally said. He stared at her for a moment, puzzled, smoothed his right eyebrow. "I want to go home." No, you don't understand." And here he laughed, really laughed out loud at the awful mix-up, which of course only made everything worse. On the long walk back to Rose Adler, Tina Carruthers kept a brisk pace, always a few feet in front of him. He tried to convince her that he'd not, in fact, confused her with anyone. No, he said, he was only making a joke, a none too subtle reference to the honeymooners, but this honeymoon was over. She said, "I think we should take a break." He shrugged. "See, that's what I'm talking about." She pointed at his chest. "What?" "That." And here she aped his look of boredom, arching shoulders, letting them drop. "I'm sorry I called you Alice. It's a joke, I get it. The problem is everything's a joke with you." "What? No, listen, Tina, I really care about you." She stood her ground, arms crossed in the gray twilight. "Then why are you going to Utah?" Richard stared at her in silence. "Is that what's bothering you?" "I promised myself I wouldn't do this. I don't want to be that kind of girl." He took hold of her and squeezed her tight against his chest, and she began to rock back and forth, trying to suppress tears, he hoped, but no, she wasn't crying. He'd completely misread the situation. "I'm sorry," she said. "I just don't think we should see each other anymore. Thank you." Our next writer is Jessica Krastill, and she is the co-author, along with Jason Jimenez, who we'll be reading later as well, of Summer Idea number 6, this beautiful chapbook here, which I would encourage you all to pick up. And I have an introduction here, written by Thea Maxwell. Jessica Krastill is from Minneapolis, Minnesota. She likes small meals and soft clothing. Her recent, violently passionate, and blessedly brief love affair with Andre Agassi is the subject of her new poems. I hope she will read a few of these poems tonight. And when Jessica is not writing, she kicks up